What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Make an Impact podcast with real stories, real people, and real impact. My name's Stephen Turnbull. I'm an entrepreneur, husband, and father on a mission to have people share their stories with you of how they're making an impact on others, maybe in their life. Super excited for you to be here for today's conversation. We have my good friend Sean Lavin, who is the owner of Boom Boom Mex Mex. We've been friends since 2016, and about 90% of what we talked about was the first time I heard about it. That's what I love about this. We talked about how he's making an impact on employees' lives at his restaurant. We talked about how you buy something that's not for sale. Get your notepad out for that. Without further ado, let's get into Sean Lavin. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Make an Impact podcast. Mr. Sean Lavin's in the house, all the way from Syracuse, New York. Big drive in.
Yeah, ran into a lot of traffic.
A lot of traffic.
We're here.
A lot of traffic on 90. So far, you're episode 9 or 10, 8, 9 or 10. You're the longest traveled guest. We have a plaque for you at the end of the show.
Do you guys reimburse miles?
Yeah, you got to talk to Mike about that. Mike, you get a receipt. Yeah. Okay. And the mileage will be reimbursed. Perfect. This is cool. Sean is a good friend and a client of mine, and we met in college. We said we'll talk on a different podcast about all the college stories, but just become a good friend and mentor and entrepreneur resource. And I said, Sean, you got to drive in. We're going to do this podcast. We're going to go to dinner. Here you are.
Yeah, I'd say that this is the furthest I've driven to see you, but I did go to your wedding.
That's true. That's true. You did go to my wedding and drove further.
Yeah.
That's right. And you want mileage reimbursement for that too?
I don't know how far we can go back, but yeah,
I'll talk to Mikhail on that one. Mike can help you with the podcast reimbursement. Mikhail will talk to you about the gas reimbursement for the wedding. All right. Sean Lavin. Tell me about Sean Lavin. We have a lot we want to dive into. You're the owner of Boom Boom Mex Mex restaurant in Syracuse. Is it Liverpool? Where is it?
Camillus.
Camillus. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I should know that.
Okay.
It's on the insurance policy correctly. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Which I'm going to talk to you about my premium going up, but that's for
that's another. We have a different episode for that. We're going to talk about that different. But I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the journey. I want to talk about the landlord life side of things and all of that. But tell us about Sean. Let's start with Sean.
Yeah, I grew up in Camillus. First, thanks for having me. Grew up in just outside of Camillus, and was a West Sider, but I ended up going to school on the East Side. I went to CBA, and on the way back home from school, I would stop at this local Mexican restaurant, Boom Boom Mex Mex, a lot, and to the point where we got to know the original owners pretty well, and ended up going to St. John Fisher College and graduated in 2016 with a finance degree, and kind of was going to go back to Syracuse and work for a company, Sutton Real Estate, and doing something there. And I had interned there before, and I had really an interest in real estate, and unfortunately they didn't have a position available. So I ultimately went in and asked them what to do. And they said, there's this company in Rochester, Northmark Capital. They'd handle all of our financings. It'd be perfect for you. So they called, and they made a reference for me, and I applied and went through the first interview and got it, and then went to the second interview and got it, and then they said, sorry, the position's not available. And I was pretty bummed out about it.
Did you ask them for mileage too?
I should have.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, third interview, my goodness.
Yeah, I should have, but I didn't. But I ultimately called them and said, hey, I'm really interested in working. And they're like, sorry, we don't have a full-time position anymore, just an internship. And I was like, well, I'm interested. And they said, all right, we'll get back to you. And a week later, they said, sorry, we don't even have that in the budget. So I was didn't know what to do, just graduated. I was like, well, I'll figure it out. So I applied for a job at a local hibachi restaurant doing bartending. So bartended there.
You weren't behind the grill?
No, they didn't. They didn't. I was on that track, actually.
You failed the egg trick.
Yeah, I didn't get that one yet, but I got the volcano down. So we'll work on that afterwards. But I ended up driving to their office, and I knocked on the door, and I said, look, I really want to learn. I will work for free. I will commute and just learn. And the boss was pretty thrown back by that, because they're like, no one does that anymore. So he made a phone call, and I ended up getting an internship there. So I was commuting back and forth, and bartending at night, and working at this commercial debt and equity brokerage shop as an analyst for a period of time. Ended up getting a full-time job there, an offer there, and did that for about 4 years.
Let me stop you there. I'm going to stop you there. Take me back to the drive into the office. Tell me that whole story. So, okay, so that was like short-term memory loss already. I just turned 30. That was the position that they didn't have.
Correct. So they did. So they're a national company. They had a local.
Gotcha.
Call it an office in Rochester, downtown Rochester, and they basically said corporate's not approving this in the budget anymore. So I was.
You said, "Hold my beer, I'll drive to corporate."
I basically just said, hey, I will work for free. I will learn so much more. I'll make the money on working at the hibachi restaurant. I was sleeping at people's houses sometimes. I didn't work that night, and just trying to save where I can, and it all worked out. I learned so much more than I ever could have in college. I mean, I learned a lot in theory in college, but day-to-day ops, it really changed my life to the better for the last 5, 6, 7 years. It just has really grown from that initial job. So
side note, you're the second Fisher guy to be on the podcast. We had Scott Greats on, and that's where you and I met. I didn't say that in the introduction. Fisher boys out there. Back when it was Fisher College. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Back in the day when
it's changed so much since we've been there,
Yeah, back in the day.
Dining hall's still the same.
Oh, God, that was
40 pounds freshman year.
Junior year, I was...
Forget the
when I
freshman
transferred
15.
in. Yeah, forget the freshman 15. It was freshman, sophomore, junior. That's a personal problem. When I moved in and transferred, whatever dining hall or whatever dorm that was, right above the dining ward. That's right. God, you got a good memory. This is gonna be fun. Yeah, dining hall is great over there. If you're in Rochester, stop by for dinner. It's fantastic.
You can.
But if you're in Syracuse, Boom Boom Mex Mex. So incredible background. I love the journey of knocking on the door. Like, that takes kahunas. There's no doubt about it. Tell me leading up to that of like, oh, I'm just going to go there and do it. Nobody would do that. You could probably put 20 people in a room. Maybe one person out of 20 would do that. Yeah. And you just wanted to learn. That was the why behind that.
Yeah. I mean, at the time I really believed in what my internship said about that company. And, they said that you're going to learn way more than being with us as a property manager. You're going to learn significantly more behind the why and the how of how the financing works, of analyzing a real estate transaction, and whether it's buying a property or refinancing a property, and figuring out what the metrics are, what's to look for, and we also serviced the loans, a lot of them, so I was able to walk through properties and see deferred maintenance and understand what to look for. So it really kind of just catapulted everything that I never really would have even imagined in that.
Okay, so we're going to put Boom Boom on the back burner for a minute. We're going to get to that because I wanted to touch on the real estate side of things. And you're talking exactly about that, how these experiences catapulted into buying real estate yourself, still working in the real estate field in some regard. Tell us about that. Bring us up to where you are today with that.
Yeah, so I think we should divert back to Boom Booms because it kind of really changed everything. So if we can kind of go to that.
Please.
So
I'm just here for the ride.
Yeah. So 2018, I get a phone call from my dad, and he's like,
This was 2 years after college.
Yeah, it was a little over 2 years after college. I was told I was going to get a promotion, and it just kind of, the office wasn't still doing well. And so I ended up, kind of just, falling out of, the desire of going to that next level at that company. So my dad called, and he was, saying, hey, I'm looking to retire soon. I need, to supplement some income from, the overtime I'm losing at National Grid. He's a forklift driver at National Grid. So I was like, well, we could look at flipping houses. We could, start there, buy a rental property and hold it. So we looked at some properties, and, which is actually kind of funny. We looked at them, and they were just priced too high. The renovations just didn't make sense. And, which is kind of ironic because now we would have made us so much money if we just did those houses, because the housing market has just blown up.
Yeah.
So we ended up, I was like, hey, the restaurant, Boom Boom Mex Mex, is, the building's for sale. We should totally look at that. And he was like, yeah, let's look at it. So I reached out to the realtor, and I said, hey, really interested in the building. We want to take a look at it. So we went through and we looked at it, and, had an apartment upstairs, and the main floor was the restaurant, and the downstairs was more commercial space. So I reached out to the lady. I was like, hey, I'd really like to put in an offer. And I said, but there's a but. I go, we want the name and recipes as well. And she said, sorry, they're not for sale. And I said, well, tell Tom and Lupe, the owners, that it's Bob and Sean, because we'd go there 3-4 times a week. We became very good family friends with them. So she was like, okay. So she called, and an hour later called me back. She's like, holy crap, you're right. Just because it's you guys, we'll consider it. She goes, but he had one question. He goes, what restaurant experience did you have? And I was like,
this is when the volcano came back.
Yeah. So I was quick. I was like, well, my family had, restaurant experience, and we've owned it in the past, which is not wrong. It was my great grandfather, but he's not around. And my experience, as I alluded to before, was bartending for 2 weeks at a hibachi restaurant. And my dad's experience was at 15 and 16 years old as a dishwasher. So, my goal really wasn't to run the restaurant day-to-day operations of it. It just kind of really happened. It took over, and we structured it a very interesting way to purchase the building, because no one would lend on a vacant restaurant.
So the building and the business were for sale, or just the building was for sale at the time?
At the time, just the building.
Just the building, before you called and said, hang on a second.
Correct.
Okay.
So we ended up working in a favorable deal for both sides, where the seller would hold some money and or some paper, really, and it worked out for us to get established and find somebody to run the restaurant, and we started the process, and no one would do it. So it's like, Dad, you know what? I'm not getting the promotion that I thought I was going to. I'm going to quit my job and go and do it full time. So quit my job, moved back home. We knew what the food had to taste like.
So you were still in Rochester at this point?
Correct. So I ended up moving in May of 2019 back to Syracuse to open the restaurant. So we opened it May 19th of 2019, ran out of food the first day because it was line out the door. I mean, for people who don't know, the restaurant is like a Chipotle style concept. But we don't charge extra for guac like them. That's my pitch. But
do you have shirts to say that?
I should. I don't.
Idea.
Yeah, that's a good marketing ploy. I'm gonna use that.
Yeah, please take it.
Yeah, I'll give you a kicker.
Just haven't watched the show.
I'll give you some royalties if you give me miles. We'll see who wins.
Oh boy, Mike, take care of the miles thing.
So, we knew what it needed to. Basically, we figured out how everything needed to go, and it was just figuring out the portions. We went through 300 pounds of chicken in the first day, and we cut it
Day
one. We cut it all by hand. We knew exactly what we needed, and we ran through it all. And we 7 o'clock, we closed 2 hours early, and we were like, we did it. And they're like, shit, we got to do it again tomorrow.
We need more chicken.
So, I mean, we went through 250 pounds of tomatoes, 100 pounds of 70 pounds of avocado, 100 pounds of onion. It was insane.
So at this point, day one, the prior owners had it closed?
Yes.
So it was a rebirth.
It was a rebirth. So
under the same name with the same recipes, just different ownership.
Recipe, exactly.
How long was it closed?
A couple of years. Okay.
So people were missing it.
People were missing it. And so people that don't know about it, it was a seasonal restaurant. So open in the spring, go through the summer into the fall, and the owners would shut down and go down to Mexico. So it created this kind of demand. Yeah. Basically, springtime comes around, it's boom boom season. Everyone knows it. So we know every year when we open, line out the door every single day for like the first month and a half. So wow. It was crazy to see everything kind of come full swing from being everyone knew that I loved the restaurant so much. I've just kind of switched over into actually owning it and running it. So a lot. I mean, day two, we didn't run out of food, but didn't have the right staff on, and I was there till 1 a.m. doing dishes, and we had to shut down the next day till 4 o'clock because we were so behind. So the first year, we didn't do lunches because we were cutting chicken by hand every single day, getting everything ready, 200 plus pounds a day.
Okay.
And
so just to interject here,
yeah.
People all the time are like, when they come in and sit down with Mike and I, they're like, okay, like, what are we going to talk about, this and that? This is exactly why I don't script it, because we'll have you travel back. We'll pay for your miles, sir,
Thank you.
to talk about the real estate side of things, because this is too good. All right, I want you to take me down to day one when you lock the door and do the...
Yeah.
Okay.
I had friends, parents from Rochester coming into town, Kyle Zafuto's parents, were coming into town to try because I'd lived with them for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you got to call your parents and tell them to turn around. They're at the Waterloo exit. I was like, you guys got to turn around because we ran out of food. Like, we have to shut the door. Like, we don't have any food. It was a great problem, but we learned so much. Well, I mean, we basically went in right from diving into the deep end, not knowing anything.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, so the theme of late on the show has been entrepreneurs that start off, and we talk about all the time with the business plan that doesn't go to plan, and you have to learn by doing the reps, and this is a perfect example. So you lock the door, you call Kyle's parents and say turn around, and you realize you need more chicken and more tomatoes and more of everything by tomorrow. Walk me through that as a guy coming from the finance world, now owning a restaurant, operating a restaurant with a first sellout on day one.
And this is what really speaks volumes to how great my friends and family are. I mean, I had friends, Marco and Glove, coming in and literally dicing onion and cleaning onion and getting it all ready. And just, I had aunts and uncles helping cut chicken and just get everything ready to go. It was very sloppy, but behind the scenes,
right,
this was all going on. From the forward facing, no one knew what was going on. It was insane. I mean, it took hours every single night to get everything cleaned and ready for the next day. And fast forward to this year, we opened up and we had the busiest opening day year we've ever had. And we closed in 30 minutes after we shut the door. We had everyone out the door, like the staff, like we locked the door after everything's uncleaned and done, 30 minutes.
Were Kyle's parents in line? Did you tell them just to come early? Or?
I don't think they've ever actually made it to Boom Boom Mex Mex before. And I preface Boom Boom Mex Mex because we opened the new concept, the Italian concept, in the wintertime. They've made it for that. So
Gotcha.
They end up
so just like walk us through. I want you to walk. This is a dangerous question. Get up in your head. I want to get up in the head. Okay.
Yeah.
So just walk me through like locking the door. Like you got to do this all the time. It's not like it was a craft show and like, oh, we sold out. Thank God. We got another year to prepare for it. Like you got to do this all tomorrow. You don't know what you're doing behind the scenes, as you said.
We had the recipes. We knew generally, like, there was basically a book, and it was.
Now, were the prior owners around at all?
They were in Mexico. So they told me, these are all the recipes. This is what you should expect for quantities. And we're like, okay, perfect. So, but what I didn't realize was how much
demand
prepping for the next couple days there actually is involved with running a restaurant. Like, we're not prepping for that day. We're prepping for days ahead. And that's something that I didn't realize originally. So now when we go to open up opening day, we've got, well, first of all, we ended up buying equipment to get rid of that piece of the labor. So we have a chicken dicing machine now that instead of having 4 people dice chicken for 4 hours, so 16 labor hours, I can get it done now for under an hour.
Right.
With no labor.
Right.
So that was crucial. And it was very interesting to see kind of that general progression of things where you kind of just learn and you realize what exactly you need to do to avoid failure.
Right.
To your point. So we're prepping for days ahead. So opening day this year, I had 600 pounds of chicken ready to go, because you don't know what to expect and you need to have it for days and days in advance.
Right. Okay, so go back to the door locking.
Yeah.
Like what? So you have friends and family that are helping, all of that, but from like the business side, like you got to get more tomatoes. You got because you were completely, and correct me if I'm wrong, like you're completely like, oh, we have enough. Like let's just open up and see how this goes, especially being years off.
Yeah.
Like what are the thoughts that are going through your mind of like, because I know the way that you're wired is I'm going to make this happen. It's just, it's the how.
Yeah.
And I mean, going back to, regardless if you have a line out the door or when you open a business and the things that you don't know, that you go through that journey that you don't know, every entrepreneur, if they care enough, which most people do, because if they start a business, they're going to figure out how to do it. It's just, how do we get there?
Yeah. We knew what it needed to taste like, and that was the biggest thing. We needed it to taste the same as Tom and Lupe's. And so we hit that right away. We'd follow the recipes to a T. My parents and my brother, they took 2 weeks off vacation from their jobs. And basically we were all in the trenches. Just my brother was washing dishes. My mom was in the, on the cold prep side. My dad was helping with like the chicken. And we had really quality staff that had been there before from the original owners. So
cool.
We generally knew, like we had 3 or 4 key staff members that were able to help us with things. But again, there's like a fine line of, how much overtime do we want to give them? How much do we want to, burn them out? My chef was working there for 2 weeks straight, just grinding because we didn't know what to do. We just were like, hey, we'll pay you whatever it takes.
Right.
And we figured it out. We learned, and I was quickly right in there, taking over on a lot of that stuff. So.
Right. Okay, so let's fast forward to today. Talk to me about the restaurant today and the things you learned from that. We already hit on the fact of like, I was interested in this finance thing, and this was gonna be now you're owning a restaurant. You're owning one that sells out of 200 pounds of chicken in a half hour, or whatever crazy number it is.
Yeah. So to get to that, we kept it seasonal. So we were like, A, for our sanity, we need a break. But B, we want to keep the nostalgia, which is the seasonality. So we kept it. But with that came employee turnover and loss of employee retention. I still have 5 or 6 that are still from the original opening day for us, which is unheard of.
Are there people that were working there under the past ownership that are still there?
Yes.
That's so cool.
We have a couple people that were there. So it's crazy to see the longevity of some of our key employees, which is we're so grateful for. But every single year, it's how many people do we need to hire and train and get on board at our busiest time of the year. It's like saying, hey, Chipotle, it's Cinco de Mayo. You have a whole brand new staff. Go with a line out the door.
Yeah.
That's literally what we do every single year. So in order to avoid that, and keep the nostalgia of the seasonality, we this past year opened a new concept, which is Boom Boom Italiano, which think about basically Chipotle, but Italian. You pick your pasta, we'll drop it in the water in front of you. You go right down the line. You pick your sauce, you pick your meat, go to the cold side. You can build your own antipasto bar, and then soups as well. So, but everything's homemade, except for the pasta and except for the sausage. Everything else is homemade.
Okay.
We're making meatballs every single day. We're breading and pounding cutlets every single day. I'm coming for Utica.
And I'm supposed to take you out to dinner after this here? Yeah. Where the hell are we going to go? There's one of the places actually got 200 pounds of chicken. They sold out. Sorry. You have to go home. More miles. Yeah. Okay. All right. Phase 2 here.
Yeah.
So we're a restaurant owner.
Yeah.
Became a restaurant owner. Figured out real quick how to be a restaurant owner. Quicker than most, I would say. Now this second concept, what does that look like from planning that? And I mean, people bring on different lines of business and work. They go into different directions with their business. They offer a new product offering. It's essentially what you're doing. But this is for the off seasons of Boom Boom Mex Mex, correct?
Correct. The whole point of it was to keep my staff on year round, not lose them, supplement the sales.
Yeah.
We knew it would never be the Mexican side, because the Mexican side is just it's crazy volumes. That being said, I had no clue what to expect. I knew what the family Sunday sauce needed to taste like. Mm-hmm. My aunt quit her job as a teacher, came on full time as a manager, and really kind of did a lot of the cooking on that side of it. My dad quit his job officially this time 6 years later from his I want to retire. And so he quit his job and came on full time and was rolling meatballs, and we do eggplant parm in-house as well. So we do a lot. Everything is in-house, and it's very labor intensive. But I had no clue what to expect as far as how much to make. I mean, you're going from at home making a pound of pasta. I'm boiling 10 pounds of pasta at a time.
I don't know how to do pasta. You're not talking about me.
That's fine.
I'm just coming to your place.
Yeah. So that, we're going from a pot of sauce at your grandma's house to a vat of sauce that takes 6 hours to make, and I don't know how long it's going to last. So we had to prepare for that. All the way up to that, all the way down to Alfredo. Where Alfredo, you can't make a large batch of that. You have to make individual ones, and that was our number one seller. So constantly making.
And so talk to me from the ownership standpoint about that, because they're two completely different things, and concept's a perfect way to put it. You have the seasonal over here, the seasonal over here, but they're two different offerings, two different types of meals, two different foods, whatever. Talk to me about the planning for that as the non-restaurant owner to restaurant owner to figure that out, to execute it.
Yeah. Again, it kind of came down to the same really mindset. I knew the vision of what we really wanted, and I really relied heavily on my two managers. They in those 2 weeks we took off to rebrand, because it was 2 weeks. We shut down, completely cleaned everything, rebranded, put all the new equipment in, because we needed new equipment. So forget the burrito warmer, forget the quesadilla machine. That's out the door.
Don't need it.
Don't need it. But now we're putting in a pasta boiler. We're putting in the soup warmers. We have a Parmesan griddle or a broiler. So they did a tremendous job of creating this from a Mexican style cantina to you feel like you walked into Little Italy. I'm talking like vines and string lights and old family and all the photos are old family photos of black and white, where we actually did own that restaurant. So that was in there, paid homage to that. I mean, like the checkered tablecloths. I mean, you would have no clue that it was a Mexican style restaurant. Mm-hmm. So it's that side of it, the staff really knocked it out of the park. But I mean, little tiny things that I never really would have thought of was, well, what type of plate do we put it on? What type of bread should we bake? What type of, everything. And so
So that's what I want you to get into. How do you do that in 2 weeks?
We spent a lot of time trial and error figuring out well before that of, testing out what type of pasta we're going to use, testing out what type of sauce we're going to use, because a can of sauce is different from everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we spent a lot of time of trial and error of perfecting recipes, perfecting soup recipes, because that was the biggest thing that we, really needed to figure out was, I mean, we have all the traditional sauce recipes from the family. We have the meatball recipe. We have the cutlet recipe. We have the eggplant recipe. We had all that. But there's certain things that we didn't have. So it was a lot of trial and error figuring out, and then messing around mass quantities. I literally told my aunt, I said, you need to figure out not just for a family of 4, but a family of 100. So she spent months figuring out how to because I said, this needs to be measured. It can't just be a dash of this, a dash of this. It eventually can get to that point, but we need a base to work off of, because you can't be here every single day.
Right.
My dad can't be here every single day. Mm-hmm. So a lot of testing and sampling, and so I got sick of Italian pretty quick.
Man, so cool. Yeah. Last couple points I want to hit on. You talked about briefly, you threw in there about the staff.
Yeah.
So the only objective for this new concept was to keep your staff.
Correct.
And keep the good people that you had that were working very well on the Boom Boom Mex Mex side.
Correct. Because so you gotta think, when we're as a seasonal operation, you're getting mostly high school and college kids. So you have a gap where you have from 15, 16 to 20, 21. So you have that gap. But what about the kids that stay on that are 21, 22, 23 out of college or did not go to college? They got to go find jobs somewhere else. Mm-hmm. They're not just going to sit at home and
right. Right.
So figuring that out. So we obviously were able to keep them on. Our retention was phenomenal. And we opening up this year, that was why it was so simple this year for the Mexican, because we had them all on. That's why we shut the door at 8:30, because we had all of our staff.
And so, not a restaurant owner, I don't have plans, hopefully. I want to leave that to you. But you hear a lot in that space if it's hard to find people. And here you are saying, I have to find a way so that I can keep these people, right, with the seasonal business. And obviously, you just went over 5 to 700 people or whatever have been there since day one for you and your journey.
Correct.
Why? Why do the people stay? What's the secret? Oh, you're going to like this, Mike. What's the secret sauce? You see what I did there? That was good. Mike loves when I cue him in on this stuff. We're working on getting him a mic. What's the secret sauce behind keeping those people? Because it's obvious that, A, you as the business owner, you have a business to run. You want to keep the people because of all the obvious reasons. They know what they're doing. It's going to be the same. Familiar faces, insert everything else here. But they obviously are wanting to stay. They obviously want to be a part of your journey. What is that for you?
Yeah, we do something very different than a lot of places, from my understanding, is we don't our minimum wage worker is not the $7.25 or whatever it is nowadays, the server wage.
Yeah.
Everyone starts out, I think it's like $15.50 now. So everyone starts out at $15.50 at a minimum. And we pool our tips at the end of the week. Every single one, from the dishwasher to the cook to the front line to the prep. They all work hard, and it's at the end of the week. So if you're working a Monday shift versus a Friday shift, might be busier on Friday, but you're still working equally as hard. So we pool our tips equally. They all get a free meal at the end of the night. We do everything that we can to make it ideal for them. We have enough staff that if they want more time off, they can have more time off. We really try to do everything that we can to keep our staff happy.
Yeah.
So we allow them to have other jobs. We do everything that we can to keep them on, and for the most part, that keeps them happy. And I have most of them from 16 years old to 21 years old. I mean, there's a longevity of our staff, which you hear about employee retention, you hear about training costs. That's pretty much out the door. I'm maybe hiring 1 to 2 people, generally speaking, a year at this point.
Right. And that's just behind from the culture that you're building and caring about them and them wanting to come back.
And it really kind of goes up to my managers. I've heard them say that the staff will go to war for them, to us. So, I mean, they do a really good job of, the owner's always the bad guy. You look at like
not insurance agencies. No.
You look at sports, for example. The head coach is always the bad guy. The assistant coaches are always like the friends, and that's the same way. But we keep it like a family, and that's pretty much.
Let me ask you this: what has this done for Sean? What has this done for Sean? I mean, it is the remarkable thing about it is it was never in the picture, and right, we all go to college. We talked about this with Tristan. We all go to college because we're going to go to college and we're going to get a business degree, or we want to be a vet. That's a weird thing to think of, but I thought of it. We're going to want to be a vet. We want to be a doctor. These are all these plans, this roadmap, and we're going to work till this age and this and that. For you, it was like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then it was like, right over. Now we're going to own a restaurant, and we're going to sell that 200 pounds of chicken. Like, what has this done for you when you look back?
You know what it has done? It's made me say I'm never going to open another restaurant again, and that is
the good news is you got the first one figured out.
Good news is I actually opened the Italiano after I said I wasn't going to do that. And I said I'm never going to do festivals. And you know what? I just bought a food trailer and we're going to be doing festivals. I got one tomorrow that we're preparing for a Taco Margarita Fest in Syracuse in the Inner Harbor. I mean, it just...
So what's the why behind that?
A lot of it comes from my managers really pushing me to be better. I truthfully felt like I was dead against all of that. I was, status quo is status quo is status quo. We did the Syracuse Nationals at my manager's request. We did K-Rockathon. Now we're doing Taco Margarita Fest, and learning all of that and the pains and the struggles.
Which is a whole different ballgame, I assume. A
whole different ballgame. I went from, we're prepping food and we're bringing it to these events, and we have to be prepared for how much food we're going to need. We're bringing half of our equipment from the restaurant to these places. So between the food trucks have really become these crazy things that people want for grad parties. They want for weddings. They want for all these things. And people reach out and be like, hey, we want you to cater our wedding. And before I'd say, I'm not going to ruin your wedding. I'll ruin somebody's grad party. That's not a big deal. But I can't ruin somebody's wedding. So I've always said no. But now it's gotten to the point where I can't get certain grad parties because they want food trucks. And so we had to bite the bullet and get a food truck in order to compete with a lot of the other great restaurants that are in the area. I mean, we got restaurants coming from Buffalo that come in and for these events. So.
How cool of a way to describe it, of like when I asked the why and was trying to dig deeper in there, it's like, well, my managers, my people, my team. And I mean, that's the biggest thing is like, you were like, I'm good with the status quo. We got these lines out the door at this location, and this is, I'm finally getting this down. I'm not running out of tomatoes last minute. I finally have this down, and it's like, oh, you want to do this? No. Oh, but they're bringing it to you and saying, well, we got to get into here. We got to get into here. From a leadership standpoint, you as the leader, where does that come from? What are your, like, for people that might be listening to this, are like, how do I get my team more bought in? Because everything you've said, they're bought in. How do you do that?
Yeah, a lot of it comes to listening. And we didn't talk about this, but I have a full-time job at a credit union doing. I know this is the thing. This is my notes. I'm like, we're going way over. Yeah, we're definitely going a different direction than I anticipated, but this is great. I've seen in cultures where, you have leadership that oh yeah, we'll bring up the flagpole. We're running back down the flagpole. Yeah, we're not doing anything. So I've always found that having that, listening. I had a kid that came to me and she said, I want to be a baker. I was like, okay. I was like, make me some stuff. She came in and had some awesome ideas. She came and we had her as our baker for Italian. So she was making cannolis. She was making, cheesecakes, you name it. She was making it. And it got so popular that she started her own business from it. So kind of being like that, just listening to it.
That is so cool. You know what that is? Making an impact, baby.
Yeah, it is making an impact.
That is what it's all about. It's all empowerment.
It is. And again, and this goes back to my managers, because I was like, we can't do this. Like we have a reputation. And my managers were like, you should try her stuff. It's phenomenal. So it kind of starts from listening to them and understanding what they want and what the staff wants. And, a lot of it kind of stems from that. So kind of really listening and understanding. And there's all things that are just going to get shot down, like just because. Yeah. But there's so many things that they're the managers are the eyes and the ears. Like I'm not there every day. I don't see what's going on. I can't hear what the staff is saying. I can't hear what some of the customers are saying. So if they can figure things out and get us to that next level, it makes them heard, my managers heard, but it also trickles down to the staff to see that their ideas matter.
It's the open door concept, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you think in the corporate world of the boss either has the door shut or the door open. And so that girl could have come to you and said, hey, I want to do this. And I'm sorry, we just don't offer that. That's it. Mm-hmm. She might have never started that business. She might have never been able to pave her own path. All the things we talk about with you, with what you're doing with the business, if you were just to say, I'm sorry, it doesn't fit into our model. Yeah. Versus what you said, which is incredible, of let's see what you got.
Yeah.
Let's see what you got. And then the fact that she was able to do that, get so busy, get so much good response that, and now I'm assuming, does she still work for you?
She still works for us. Okay. She's our baker. She's gotten a lot of, she did the St. Jude's event in Syracuse. The amphitheater reached out to her. So she's got some legs behind it. And, it's
so what happens, Sean, when said person, we'll call him Julie.
Her name is actually Julia. It's so funny, yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Only happens on the Make an Impact podcast. All right, Julia. We're going to call Julia because that's her name, and I was damn close. Close enough.
Very close.
So what happens when Julia comes to you and says, Sean, my gig's getting too busy. I gotta chase this full time. What happens?
I come to a tough reality that I have to let her go. I mean, she's doing her dream, which is baking, and I'm so happy and supportive for her. Then we got to figure it out. Bake. There it is. Just like back to day one of Mexican. We ran out of food. We got to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Same concept.
Yeah, but I mean, it could have been an easy answer of, then I'd be screwed. Mm-hmm. Then we wouldn't have the things that we need. But you are making an impact in her life to be able to have her pave her own journey through that simple conversation of coming to the door and saying, hey, we should give this a try or not.
Mm-hmm. I've had countless former employees reach out for references, and I give every single one a reference, whether it's as glowy as can be or not. It depends on how hard they work. But I've seen a lot of kids get full-time jobs, get married, have children. I mean, in the 7 years we've been doing it, it's insane to see, to your point, the impact that this restaurant really has made on people. Some might, burn out and not necessarily work out and stuff like that, but it's so far and few between of like the reality, which is so many are great kids.
So last question, when's the Utica location coming? Or do I have to call a manager and have the manager ask you?
You're going to have to call the manager because I'm dead against it. It's funny, and I really don't want to.
Where the hell am I going to take you to dinner tonight? That's all I keep worrying about.
I don't want to bring this up, but
he's gonna. Here we go.
We've been doing a lot of stuff with Syracuse football NIL and really trying to really grow that side of things. And I sat down with somebody, and he's like, "Hey, you should open up a spot in Lake Placid." And I was like,
"Ooh."
He's like a Mexican would do so good up there. So there might be something in the works. We'll see. I don't know. I don't. It's definitely.
We're going up the end of September. If you can make it happen before then, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
I mean, selfish, but
listen, you might be able to do some insurance up there. And
we can insure in Lake
look.
Placid. Just saying, folks, for those who are listening at home, we can insure anybody in Lake Placid, including Boom Boom Mex Mex, location number 2.
Perfect.
All right, we got to wrap this up because I got to figure out where I'm going to take you to dinner after all this. Oh my gosh, I'm starving. Listen, thank you.
It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate
thank
both
you for
guys
your
having me on.
Thank you for your friendship first and foremost, but thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
I say this every episode, but like this is what it's all about. We've been friends since 2016. Even after college, when we were able to do business together and all that, we talk all the time. I didn't know 90% of this stuff, but the ability to sit down, have the conversation, storytelling, learning, like. Here you are making an impact. This is what it's all about, and sharing the story. So I really appreciate you taking the drive in. Michael, take care of you on the way out with the mileage. Just make sure we need the receipts.
Do you validate parking too?
Parking's included, but we just need the receipts on everything. Just from the IRS, we got to make sure we got the receipts all straightened out.
Perfect.
All right, just quick. Remind people where you are, following along in the pages, all that stuff. Get out the short drive. How long did it take you to get here?
About an hour.
Okay, that's easy.
That's not too bad.
Easy.
No, I wasn't.
But you got to get there a little early, especially the first day.
Yeah. No, we're good now. We'll never run out.
So remind people where you're at and where they can find you.
We're located in Camillus, New York, 3263 Howlett Hill Road. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, all the main spots, even TikTok.
Oh,
Even
TikTok. All right.
I ain't making anything, but they show me these things like, hey, there's this thing going on where you can throw water on somebody and it like goes into something else, and like it's very catchy.
Are they throwing water on you?
They keep on trying to get me to get water thrown on.
I
think that they just want.
Sean, it's time you give the people what they want.
Yeah.
It's time you give them what they want.
I'll listen to the staff on that one.
All right. This is probably going to be out in 2 to 3 weeks. If you can get that done before then we'll just tie it right together with the show. It's going to be great.
Perfect.
Sean, thank you for being here. Everybody, that's another episode of the Make an Impact podcast. Until next time, remember, lead with purpose, make an impact in someone's life today, even if that's your own. My name's Stephen Turnbull. We'll see you next week.